Clocks, they're at home in Hollywood and the White House.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt in his office with a Chelsea clock on his desk.
For a century, they've stood the test of time, even survived a U-boat attack.
It sat under water for 57 years. We will restore it, refinish it.
Tonight, take a peek inside America's last clockmaker.
365 moving parts.
Also tonight, barnacles sampling MREs, battling microbial growth.
How old is this?
And evaluating the clothing interface.
So, you want to make their clothes fit better.
Can the Natick Army Lab survive this assault?
You're not going to put your hands on me.
And Ted Reinstein stars in Toy Story, the search for...
the hottest new craze since the hula hoop.
Playing games at Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley. Made in Massachusetts, next on Chronicle. The Chelsea Clock Company of Chelsea, Massachusetts. Over the last 100 years, more than 1 million clocks have been manufactured here. But there is nothing run-of-the-mill about these chronometers. They're solid brass. The gears, gold-plated to prevent tarnish. The top of the line ship's bell retails for $1,200. But then what other clock has a resume like this one? In the movie Crimson Tide, a Chelsea clock has a major role. On the submarine wall, ticking the seconds to possible nuclear war.
That's this high.
And in the film Clear and Present Danger, there's also a Chelsea clock at CIA headquarters. See it there? On the desk in front of Harrison Ford.
14 minutes, sir.
But they're not just in the movies. Chelsea clocks have stood the watch over the biggest of real-life dramas.
See Franklin Delano Roosevelt in his office with a Chelsea clock on his desk. Likewise, there's Lyndon Johnson, and he has an 8-inch Chelsea sitting on top of the TV. There's President Ford. There's another 8-inch clock between Dwight Eisenhower and Harry Truman sitting up on the mantle.
Chelsea clocks came to their place of honor from humble beginnings back in 1897. A series of bankruptcies left rope manufacturer Charles Pearson in possession of the Marine Clock Company. Knowing little about the business, Pearson copied clocks that other companies were making. That is, until he discovered Chelsea had a patent for a clock with the bell on the inside of the unit.
You did not have any holes or access for salt water, dirt to get into the movement, which contaminates the movement and causes it to stop. So we now have a self-contained movement that has no access to the environments. That distinguished Chelsea clock from any other marine clock manufacturer.
The mechanics are pretty much the same as they were 100 years ago. There's been certainly some modifications to improve them over time, but they're basically made the same way they were 100 years ago.
The clock cases are milled by machine, as are the small internal parts.
Most clock manufacturers today buy their cases from Germany or Switzerland or Japan. We make the case, we make the movement, we assemble it here. So we are the last clock maker in America.
After the cases are cut, they go to the buffing room, where a rouge compound is used for polishing.
Once that case has been now polished to a nice luster, then we take it over to our cleaning operation, where we ultrasonically clean the case, getting rid of all the rouge compound and all the dirt on the case, and prepare it for lacquering.
Upstairs, all the parts are assembled.
There are 365 moving parts in a ship's bell movement. It takes her approximately an hour to assemble a movement in its entirety.
When completed, the clocks are mounted and monitored for accuracy. What is accuracy?
Mechanical clock, a minute a week is considered good timekeeping. Chelsea clock is special because it's durable. It lasts forever. In our repair department, saw clocks that are 80 to 90 years old. The clock, the way it's designed, is totally repairable. This clock is probably made around 1905 or 1910. Every clock has a serial number on it if it's a Chelsea, and we can record, we can look up on the logbooks, and it'll show you who it was originally sold to and when it was made, and every time that clock has come back in. Here's an interesting clock that just came in for repair. This clock was originally shipped from the factory in 1915. It was shipped out to San Francisco. It was mounted on a tanker, the W.F. Hutton. In 1942, the tanker was sunk by a U-boat. It sat under water for 57 years, and it was recently resurrected and returned to us for repair. We will restore it, refinish it totally, and when it leaves here, it will look like a brand new clock. Been here 100 years. We expect to be here another 100 years. And there's a lot of history and a lot of heritage involved in these clocks, and that's what makes them so popular, because they last lifetimes, generations.
Well, it may look like Chelsea is in the clock business, but company officials like to say they're in the gift business. The State Department buys them to distribute overseas as peace offerings. IBM hands them out to reward its employees. And even Elvis Presley was a fan. He bought 100 clocks one time. When we come back, the Army's secret weapon, Barnacle, behind the scenes.